stories leave an impact. They leave an emotional impact, and we remember that. So going out and sharing my story, the amount of people I had approach me and still do approach me and say, because you shared your story, I can share mine. Or because you got through this, I know I can get through mine. And after doing that, I began to realize just how powerful stories really are and what a change they can bring about.
I think we show up in the life that we're given in different colors. And for many of us, the colors of life can be some of the darker colors in the color shade. And some of us are in the darker side a little bit longer than others. And some of us has different crayons that life provided us. And what I've learned is that it's easy sometimes to get stuck in the darker colors that life can present. But I've learned that life can become more available when you pull out the light again, and that the light lives absolutely inside of that darkness. It's just the shade of crayon we're pulling out of the box. And we're going to be meeting somebody and visiting today who really takes that to core and to heart. And I think it's what happens in life when we got on the other side of the dark event windows. Today is a very, very, very special episode. We're going to be sharing our time with Elizabeth Smart. Talk about somebody who was gifted a box of crayons that had a lot of dark colors that showed up on the ride. But we found the light anyway. And Elizabeth, thank you so very much for joining us at Believe Boulder.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So please, for many of us, we've heard a lot of what happened because your story was a world story. It's a life story. And I would suggest probably one of the darkest shade of colors that could be in a crayon box was what happened in your youth. And I think that trauma can happen at any age, but I think something different happens when it happens in our younger age. And it can shape everything that happens in the next. And Elizabeth, I'm so wowed. I'm so wonderfully impressed with the beautiful woman you've become in this life, and how you allowed yourself to step on the other side of the horrific events that were presented to you in a time where safety should be present. We're in our bedroom. It's our safety space, and life showed us that not every moment is one that we can predict. It's not one that we have the right to control, but yet instead it's what happens on our interpretations of what happened and what we do to get to the other side. And Elizabeth, please, as I love exploring who you've become in life, what I love so much, it's your gorgeous light. It's your authenticity. It's your desire to inspire others to unlock a life they have the right to have. And I'd love to, please, Elizabeth, to explore with you. You've created family, your beautiful children, your husband, Matthew. Life has shown itself to become available through your choices. And I love your willingness to play in a life of choices. Can we explore together a little bit, Elizabeth? So please, here you are, finding your footing after that master life event. Elizabeth, please, how long did it take for you to find some epiphany moments that invited you to reinterpret and find a different moment to playing with a new choice? How long after that life event did that become available?
I mean, I would say, honestly, probably every day, because the day that I was rescued, prior to that, every decision was made for me. And I had no control over my life. I had no control over even what I ate or when I slept or anything else. So coming home, it did feel like I was just given all of these choices back. And that was thrilling to me. I mean, even just to decide what cereal I ate in the morning, or, take a 5-minute shower or maybe a 30-minute shower. Um, those choices were exciting, and going back to high school was exciting. These were all things that I felt like had been taken away from me and all of a sudden had been given back. and I wanted to make the most of them. I wanted to move forward and live my life and pursue my dreams because I thought they'd been snatched from me.
Elizabeth, I love it. Your light was available quickly through having access to choices returned and reinvigorating life to some form of what it used to be like the day before that yesterday, where you went back to school and finished everything. Please, Elizabeth, growing up and having that life event and having the ability to find joy again by having that freedom returned. I think these are things that I think in life it's easy to take some of the part for granted because it's just going to happen. We just expect it to happen. And then life interrupts it and proves that we can't control every event window. But you controlled the choices and you made a choice of coming back and finding joy immediately available because your freedom was returned and your ability to make choices. Can I ask a silly question, Elizabeth, please? Growing up and finding the opportunity to give your story out loud to others, to inspire, to do what you do, writing books, sharing your story with many through inspirations, public speaking is simply incredible what you give in the life you choose to live. These are all choices. And your choices to me are absolutely stunning. And it's all at the core of trauma can happen, but life's available on the other side. Can I ask, please, what tools did you use to make that really available for you to unlock in a reality? How did you understand that life is available after? I know you said you came back and reconnected to some of the things you loved, and that was a useful tool, but there's emotions and there's mental thoughts and there's a whole bunch of things that show up. And then there we are with our youthful mind still being shaped in the world we're exposed to and being asked to interpret that life event. What? That leaves emotional scarring. It leaves a whole bunch of residue. May I please? How do we dust out the residue and bring it back to the light?
I mean, I think that one of the greatest gifts a parent can give their child is just to love them unconditionally because that was my foundation. Whenever I had doubts or worries or fears or, struggles, whatever it was, I could always come back to my foundation, which was my parents love me. And that
Mm.
really helps me move forward. And I think it's so tragic when that is not the case. I mean, I believe studies have been done, and there's the ACE scores, the adverse childhood experiences. And depending how high your ACE scores are, really can negatively affect you later in life. But prior to my abduction, I I didn't have a single mark, a single number on the ACE score. And so I just feel like that base really set me up for resiliency, for picking my life back up and moving forward.
That's incredible. Elizabeth, I love that you give so much to youth, to children in your focus, and to adults, to everybody, in fact. And can I ask, what exercises have you found for yourself, whether they're physical or mental, that allow you to realign, to redirect thought?
Well, during my captivity, I remember any time that anything terrible happened, which was every day, I would always think, this is rock bottom. This has to be rock bottom. There can be nothing worse than this. And then somehow something worse would always happen. My captors would come up with a new way to torture me, or it would rain, or there'd be no food or something. And so that was just digging me deeper and deeper into a place of darkness and negativity. And so I guess I had to turn it around. And I remember growing up and watching the movie Pollyanna and how she always played the glad game. And honestly, as a kid, I found it kind of nauseating. But that's kind of what ended up happening during my captivity. I ended up finding just the small things to be grateful for. Or I would try to, whatever situation I found myself in, I would try to imagine it worse. And then I could be grateful for what it was. And so I felt like that really helped me survive.
That's powerful. That's powerful, Elizabeth. Contrast matters. It shapes perception, and it's the perception of the moment that takes us left turn, right turn. Boy, I love that you designed it that way. How powerful. And you know what else I love too, Elizabeth, please? I love that you highlighted that it was the family that helped to shape a core for you to build tomorrow through. That love was available and it was so powerful for this life event window. But I love that you highlighted that not everybody gets that same level of love during a trauma event at youth. And I was not aware of A levels, Elizabeth, or what that ever meant. But I kind of know what it means growing up through that. And I guess I would be high on that A list. I have a funny feeling, and not having the core. So having the ability to find beautiful people that take life's super disruptions at a youthful age and shape something out. And you just focus on giving, because I think everything is a choice. And I think many of us, maybe in trauma times, might just come inside and never find their way to come back out through real joy. And that's really sad. And I love your message. And it's a message of yes, you can. And you write about it. And Elizabeth, can I ask, when you published your very first book, was that you that self-desired to write a book? Or did you do it through an invitation of somebody thinking it was an awesome idea and you sure should do it? How did the first book become?
That was my choice. It happened after after the trial, after sentencing had happened. And during the trial, I was up on the stand for hours and I was being examined and cross-examined. And I had never openly talked about the details that had happened. And I mean, keep in mind, this was the better part of a decade later after I'd been rescued. And I'd never really talked about it with people. It was a part of my life that I really wanted to forget, wanted to leave behind me. I wanted to focus on the future and not the past. And when I spent all of those hours talking about what happened, it ended up coming out just feeling like it was like a list of facts. It didn't feel like there was context given or how it affected me or like the emotional on ramp and the emotional off ramp, the effects of what these actions against me caused.
Yes.
And I just felt like if all of this information, if all of these facts were going to be out there for anyone to go and look at the court transcripts, I wanted to give it some context. I wanted to take power over my story and I guess give it to the world in my own words as opposed to someone else writing about it.
That's stunning. And may I please? I'm so grateful I asked that question and you shared that answer as you were sharing with me. Oh, my heart went so deep so fast, Elizabeth. Holy wow. I was just with you in my mind. I was just with you in the courtroom, Elizabeth, in front of these horrific people, reliving those horrific thoughts and those memories. My gosh. I'm just going to breathe into that for a moment and really honor you at an incredible level, because your choice to continue forward brightly, I love, as you said, the emotional on ramp and off ramp. I can only imagine, Elizabeth, witnessing and being part of that and having it spread out for so long. And I'm so grateful that your self-inspiration knew the story to be shared was through your vision, because it was you that was affected. It's your story that matters. And it's you. Beautiful you, Elizabeth. I just love and adore who you are in life and who you've become. And you've got a new book coming out. And that's awesome too. And I think it comes out here in a moment. Am I right?
Yes, and just I think under a week now. I should have that definitely like emblazoned in my brain.
I'm in love. And I love the title, Detours. Life is full of them. And they're unexpected, some of the
Absolutely.
biggest ones. May I please? Can we get a little sneak peek? Elizabeth, please. What's the flavor of what lives in that book that the reader's going to really love to enjoy?
I have never met a single person who doesn't have a story, who hasn't experienced something difficult. And all of us have only experienced our own worst trauma. And we know how that feels. And whatever it is, I mean, at the time, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel devastating. It can feel like, how do I go on? How do I move on? This is too much. This has thrown off my life's path. This has thrown off like the vision I had for myself. And this is about finding a new way forward. This is about not giving up, giving yourself hope that yes, your life is not anymore what you envisioned it to be, but that doesn't mean that it can't still be wonderful. That doesn't mean that it can't even be better than what you initially started out thinking your life would be.
And what a great way to close out 2025. Elizabeth, please. I think there's so much upset going on in the world climate right now that we're all a part of. And I think having that book released now is such awesome timing. And you know what I've learned in life? It's best to be guided and mentored to somebody that's actually gone through an event successfully than somebody who's just speaking about an event of what they think it would be like. And the way you communicate, Elizabeth, the way you write, the way you invite is incredible. And that's why your book Detour. Now I'm not a great crystal ball reader all the time, but I have a funny feeling this is what number one books look like when they release. Elizabeth, your story, the way you communicate, I love most recently, don't you love technology? And isn't YouTube, thank you, whoever invented YouTube, allowing our stories to be placed for others to see later? Elizabeth, do you know what I love also about you? Your willingness to be wickedly authentic on topics of taboo. And what I love about that uncomfortable space that you allow, I think it invites others to see themselves in the space along with you at that moment. And I think it invites normality for a moment. I think it invites us as individuals to feel we're okay and that life is affected we're not alone. And it's Elizabeth, it's you. It's people like you and us that bring out the stories of there's things on the other side. I'm so excited for next week. My order is I'm going to be one of the first to receive the book Detours. I think that life has so many, and I love what you said. And isn't it true? Life can become even more empowered beyond what you could have ever expected if the life event didn't happen first. And Elizabeth, I've learned that sometimes the bigger the life event, the bigger disruption to normal can happen. And I've learned it's hard to invite new when normal's activated. There's not enough space for the new to arrive. So I've learned that beautiful things have the ability to show up in life's darkest moments because it's the darkest moments that have the ability to truly interrupt any form of normality. And in that interruption is the invitation of the changes itself. And that's where we as people have choices. And it's the choices we take in that very event window that will shape all the things that invite afterwards. Can I ask, Elizabeth, did you make changes in your life personally after the recovery and during all of the things after on who you surround and share your time with? Is filtering people around you important? What do you do to keep that light so actively available?
Yes, I think that it is really difficult to always give of yourself if no one's giving back as well. So, I mean, finding people that are, I mean, like people who you are intimately familiar with, that are friends, that are family, it's really hard to just pour energy into relationships that are never reciprocated. And so I think that is a very important place to start. On a broader scale, though, I think it is so helpful to open yourself up to be genuine, to be authentic, to when you're
Mm.
ready. And not everyone is always ready, but to share our stories because I think so many of us feel alone when we go through hard things and you think no one else has experienced this. And then as you go through life, you realize these are actually not such isolating experiences, that actually a lot of people have the same experiences. So I do also think it's a service to humanity to open up and share our experiences.
I love that you're willing to. I agree with you so much, Elizabeth. It's so true. And it can be hard. I mean, growing up the way I did and not feeling like I connected, it took me a long time to do what you just said. But I learned that when it happened, Elizabeth, I started attracting people I really enjoyed hanging out with. I started kind of like loving new things and I found myself more available to be more creative. And I think it's super valuable to surround yourself with people that support beautiful thoughts. And Elizabeth, I love your YouTube channel. I love your ability to put together. Well, please, for those of you who don't follow Elizabeth yet, shame on you. Thank you for joining us today. This is your invitation. Elizabeth, please, I know everybody, you're just going to click the link. It's already included. It's right to Elizabeth's, all of her connections. But Elizabeth, what is your channel? Is it Elizabeth Smart Channel on YouTube?
Yes.
Everybody, you're going to love the intimate conversations, Elizabeth, that you love to share with others. When I was in the conversations, even though, Elizabeth, I might not have been affected the same way that you directly were, the story does touch every piece of my heart space. And it tells me that yes, you can, and that everything is possible, and that trauma is just an event that happened, and it's everything that happens on the other side of that window that's going to matter in the life that you live. Do you ever, and I think I know the answer, but I don't really, I never want to assume, Elizabeth, please, do you ever find yourself in self reflection alone, looking back at choices that you wish you would have redone differently, going backwards? Or when you reflect backwards, are you loving the journey you see? Do you, I think what I'm really asking, Elizabeth, do you spend time on reflection? Is that important?
I spend time on reflection to give me perspective, to give me compassion. I would love to think that had I not been kidnapped, had I not had the experiences that I have had, that I would still want to be involved in everything that I'm involved in, that I would still care so deeply about victims. I mean, across the board, domestic violence, sexual abuse, kidnapping. I would love to think that I would care as deeply as I do. But honestly, because those things weren't a part of my life, and I didn't hear people having open conversations about them or just openly speaking about them in their own life, I kind of felt like those were far away things. I kind of felt like, yes, those are tragedies. And yes, I was a child at the time, but I can see how easily I would have continued down that road of just thinking, yes, those are tragedies, but those are far and few between. I mean, I don't know anyone who has experienced those things, when in reality, everybody knows someone who's been abused.
Yes. Gosh, isn't it true? It's so true. It seems so far away until it happens to us or somebody that's super close to us. Then all of a sudden it takes on a different value. And what I love so much, Elizabeth, is what you chose to do with it. Elizabeth, what told you this was it? What told you this was your life's journey path to give, to support, to inspire? How did you take that life event window and turn it into this? I know it's choices, and I know they're your choices, but please, those are choices.
I mean, it certainly didn't happen overnight. Actually, I'd say it was a slow, gentle process.
Hmm.
I am so lucky to come from the family that I have come from. My dad, my grandpa, they always just emphasized how important service to their fellow mankind was. And so after I got home, I was ready to forget what had happened to me. I was ready to leave that in the past. I was ready to never talk about it again. But I watched my dad continually go out to lobby for better legislation, to reach out to the families who had children who had been kidnapped, who just disappeared, to go down to search efforts and help coordinate them and go out on the search parties. And I
Wow.
had listened to him providing support on phone calls to people all around the country. And then along the way, he began to ask me questions like, what do you think of this? Do you think this would have helped you in your captivity or in your abduction? Do you think this would have made a difference? And little by little, I became a little bit more and more involved. And then after the trial, again,
Yes.
when I'd spent all those hours up on the stand talking about what had happened, I just felt in that moment, okay, all of this is out there. There are no more secrets anymore.
Yes.
If anyone is going to do something about it, it should be me because again, there's the information is out there, but I also have the support system in place. I haven't been doubted about what has happened to me, except, the I'd say the far out there conspiracy theorists.
Yes.
But by far, everyone has believed my story. And so if anyone should be out there trying to make a difference, it should be me. And I remember actually asking my dad, how do I go about doing that? And he said, you should start sharing your story. And at that time I didn't really understand just how impactful stories are. And now I look at the world and I think, we have like numbers, statistics, those are all great, but many of us, me, don't hold on to those numbers very well, don't hold on to those statistics very well, but we hold on to stories. Stories leave an impact, they leave an emotional impact, and we remember that. And so going out and sharing my story, the amount of people I had approach me and still do approach me and say, because you shared your story, I can share mine. Or because you got through this, I know I can get through mine. And after doing that, I began to realize just how powerful stories really are and what a change they can bring about.
Oh my gosh, isn't it the truth? See what I mean? Elizabeth, you're such a gorgeous communicator. I'm so glad you share your gift with the world. Thank you so much for sharing the uncomfortable topics most of us would run away from. We would live in the I'm going to forget it story because it's pain doesn't feel good. And they make medicine so we can avoid the pain. And some of us deal with it differently. What I love about you is your willingness to bring up the pain and share it with the world and say, it's okay. You're okay. We can be okay together. Thank you so much for allowing a space. For me, that man was Carl Schwartz that created a space. You said it earlier, it's hope. And when hope is activated, we can show up differently. And hope is a powerful tool to unlock life through. And I think believing bolder in the things we dream that we want to have is how we can do it. May I please, Elizabeth? I think sometimes when life happens, and it can be any form of trauma, you mentioned some great ways that it can show up. They're really bold in nature. Sometimes dreaming gets shut down. I love what you did, and you dreamt of things that were even uglier than the moment you were being experienced in that very moment to allow that moment to feel better than what uglier could have felt. That was internalizing story. Teach me, please. Storytelling, sharing these stories, getting comfortable with it. It was the court. It was doing it first in front of the world, and then it was doing it. But for those of us that haven't had that platform to do it and may have stopped dreaming, what do they need to know?
I mean, again, everyone's story is valid. Whether it was, splashed around the world or it was just in your private life, everyone has a story, and I think you need to show yourself compassion and grace and love, and remember, if you don't believe it yourself, then believe me, everybody is worthy of love, and everyone is worthy of joy and peace and a brighter tomorrow than today. Do not ever give up on yourself. I mean, believe in your strength. I think we are all so much stronger than we ever imagined. I mean, people are always like, "Oh, you're so strong. I could never go through what you went through." But I didn't have a choice. I mean, it's not like I could just say, "I opt out of this." Like, next experience, please. I didn't have a choice. And if you found yourself in the same situation, you wouldn't have a choice either. You just have to keep going to get through it. So believe in yourself, believe in your own strength, believe in your hope.
I love all of that. Can I ask, when you're alone and it's just you and you're in thought, are your thoughts often reflecting on the present, the future? Do you dream a lot? Are you a big dreamer, Elizabeth, of things that you want to unlock next? Is next and want important to you?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm like a very goal-oriented person. I mean, like I feel like I always kind of need a challenge. I mean, for years it was running marathons.
Oh,
You have a deadline you have to be ready for. And I loved that challenge. And now in the world of sexual violence, abuse, um, I mean, I wanna change it. I wanna take away the shame. I wanna take away the guilt. I want people's first reaction to be belief in survivors instead of, "Well, I know that person. Are you sure that's what happened? Like, are you sure you weren't sending signals that this was okay? Or, were you maybe a little too provocative? Or,
mm.
I just can't believe that with that person." I wanna change the world so that our first gut instinct is, "I love you. I believe you. I'm here for you. I don't know exactly what you need from me, but I want you to know I will walk beside you through this process. Please tell me how I can support you."
Am I right? Do you find joy the more that you give to others, the more you share your story? Are you finding for yourself available more inner joy?
I certainly feel more hope for tomorrow. I
Yes.
feel a lot of hope that we are capable of change and that as this conversation becomes bigger, that we will give a greater hope to victims of all kinds of trauma, that we will grow compassion, a bigger compassion as society and whole as a whole. That for as seemingly difficult a place the world is right now, that there are more good people than there are bad, and more people
Mm.
want help and to make a difference than not.
It's stunning. So, inner thought, I suggest, is the everything. And may I please, when you go around in life thinking the way of what you just said, life feels differently. When you think that more people around me are positive, will uplift, will inspire and support than those that will bring me down, reject me, be jealous of me, you're going to show up differently because inner thought shapes your reactions in life. I love your willingness, Elizabeth, to play with inner thought in such a way that that was the first thing that you said. And that's what's available out there. There's more of that than there isn't. And it's up to us to find it. And I think we can find it in many places. Online, social makes digital communication so much available right now. And there's community there. And I love that you create community. Gosh, and your ability to share story in such a meaningful way is so powerful. Elizabeth, you touch so many people's hearts. You sure touch mine. And I know you've touched millions by sharing your story. And so this month is a brand new book. We're going to get it everywhere we get our books. I'm sure of that. Everybody will have no problems accessing your first copy. And of course, you're not going to waste time. Why? Because when's the best time to read? Well, that's right, when you're not at work. And vacations by the beach are delicious. Get out of the snow, get the book, be on the beach, read it. Design your thoughts for 2026, and the life ahead is filled with a whole bunch of yes, you can, but it's going to happen with what you do with your inner thought. And you, Elizabeth, sharing the stories of what happens in life's detours and what happens on that other side is filled and enriched with lots of stories of how you get to do it as well. And I think that's an awesome way. And then, Elizabeth, something magical is also happening. You're full of magic. Why? Because you participate and you invite it. Elizabeth, I understand you've got a Netflix show coming out. There's a show all about your beautiful story. Can we talk a little bit about what's going on next month and how did all that get to happen?
Yeah, so next month, Netflix is releasing a documentary, which is exciting. And I guess for me, it's just going back to the power of stories and furthering that conversation and helping other people feel like they're not alone and that they don't have to be ashamed. And I think also showing what an incredibly beautiful example is of community coming together for a a united purpose, what that looks like, and a family that everyone deserves to have coming together to make sure that just one person, so much attention and energy was put on just one person. And doesn't everyone deserve that when we need it?
So powerful. So powerful. That will be a show that none of us shall miss. And this is going to give us a much more intimate in look. Elizabeth, were you involved through the entire production of this documentary?
I was heavily involved. And I mean, like I saw the edits, I gave my feedback. My sister was involved, my dad was involved. I have uncles who were involved and all contributed their perspectives. And honestly, I kind of feel like that's what makes this documentary so special is that there are so many people giving their perspective on what happened and just giving of themselves and collaborating and coming together. I feel like that really makes a huge difference in this documentary.
That's amazing. I agree. It's nice to see the stories from the different angles. And I love that you were there at the core because sometimes stories get interpreted for too much TV drama. Would you say that your episode is enriched with much more storytelling of the actual events that took place? Were you pleased with the way the story was unlocked?
Yes, I mean this is truth. All of this is truth. There is nothing that has been overly staged or overly dramatized. And actually, the first edit that I saw of it, they were trying to be so, and I really appreciated this. They were trying to be so just conscious of my story and how much they portrayed of what happened to me that I remember actually coming back to them and saying, "This is like beautiful, and I can tell you are very much trying to protect me, but also I want the truth of what happened put out there. It's
Mm,
okay to like delve a little deeper into my story and explore some of the darker sides of my story. I was not on vacation for 9 months, so it's okay to go deeper." And then they went deeper. And honestly, I really appreciated that.
that's so powerful. Oh my gosh. May I please, Elizabeth, the final cut, the one that's airing, the one you've seen. How did it leave you feeling? How do you feel?
It was I mean, it's hard for me to watch, and it's not so hard watching my story play out, but watching my family's story play out. They
Oh,
went back and, have clipped so much footage from the search effort, from interviews that my family did, and I did not witness my family's pain firsthand. I did not witness my little sister's pain firsthand. And I feel like this is an incredibly vulnerable, I guess, piece of media that's been
yes.
put together to show what families go through and the depth of heartache that they experienced. And so because I was on the other side. I never saw that. Watching that now, I mean, it's very emotional because I love these people so much and I don't want anything to hurt them. And now as a parent myself, I think when I first got home, I thought, well, you were so lucky. You got to be together. You weren't the ones like stranded by yourself up a mountainside with two monsters. But
Yes,
now, as a
yes.
parent myself, I just think there isn't anything that I wouldn't go through to protect my child. And I guess now that I am a parent, I can really appreciate the depth of heartache that my parents experienced while I was gone.
So powerful. Thank you so very much. And I mean it, Elizabeth, from all of us. Thank you for willing to share such a vulnerable piece of your life with the world to take witness to, non dramatized, but real factual life events that are at the highest level of authenticity. Elizabeth, I've come to learn that's simply who you are. You're a woman of incredible strength. You're a woman full of integrity. Your authenticity is so available. You share at the highest level. And in the spirit of that, I'm so grateful you allow these stories to be remembered through media, whether it's through print or television. Things that will stream are forever events, and your story gets a place to be shared now forever. You will now forever touch the hearts of people you'll never meet personally. And you're so stunning for going through those painful events anyway and allowing that story to be so realized. I simply adore you for being you. Thank you for sharing your light with the everybody. Even the names we don't know yet today are touched because of who you are and this willingness of sharing. May I ask, as you and I close out this wonderful time together, may I ask you, please, knowing what you know now and knowing that there's a lot of great people hearing us right now, and they may have a point in their life where they're stuck and they have the right to believe bolder. They have the right to dream again. They have the right to live the life they wanted to have, and maybe a bigger one than they first thought they could play with. What do they need to know?
You deserve every happiness in the world. Don't give up on yourself. Speak kind words to yourself, even if you don't believe them. Just start speaking, and I think you have the power to change your inner voice. Just start doing it. Just say, I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of happiness. I'm a strong person. I can keep going. And maybe that sounds cliche, but just start saying it. And pretty soon your inner voice will start talking to you and saying, you are strong. You can do this. You can make it through. You deserve better than what you're experiencing right now.
Oh my gosh. Elizabeth, I'm so glad I asked that question. That's such a gorgeous answer. It's so true. Words are things, and we believe what we say. And we often say things that often put ourselves down. Shame on us. We're so freely available to use those words. And as you say, it might sound cliche. You know what I've learned? It's delicious and it works, because words are things, and we start believing what we say, and we often trust what we say. And it's up to us to think about the words we're willing to play with. That's what I just heard, Elizabeth. Pause, rethink, believe, dream, and use that sounded like an exercise. What I just heard, Elizabeth, is if I do those statements more often, I'm soon going to start believing it. But I might not believe it first because those other thoughts are too actively available. But what I heard is by activating new words consistently and then starting to believe the words I'm sharing out loud, I can retrain inner thought. And when I retrain inner thought, I invite new thoughts to become available. It's the new thoughts will start unlocking the possibilities of the things that are available next. I think life brings us whatever we're thinking about. And it's the inner thought that you can self-control, but it's hard when the darkness is so available. And what I've done when it's so available is I do similar things. I use fantasy. I use imagination to escape that space for somewhere else. Another thing I've learned is walking. Walking moves the body, there's breathing, and there's thought activation. Might you blend some walking with those inner thoughts and those words out loud? Disrupt the space you're sitting in if it's a dark space you're stuck at. Force yourself to interact with the sunlight outside. Be alone if you'd like. Go alone. For me, I'll put on disco music and change my attitude through sound and movement. But it's the choice, and life is full of choices. And you have the right to be beautiful in the life you're here to have. And everybody's stories are different to us. Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with the world, with all of us, to let us know that life is available, that yes, you can, and that trauma is an event that you can build everything next from. Elizabeth, you're spectacular. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. You've been so kind, and this has been just such a great conversation. Thank you for having me on.
Mm. And you know what would be really fun? It would be really wonderful if you took a moment, not only leave a great review here so that others will get a chance to hear our story today, but will you also take a moment and go make sure that you follow Elizabeth on all socials? All of her social links are attached below. Why? Remember, Elizabeth shared earlier, we spoke on it earlier. Those people you surround yourself with are going to help shape who you become next. Find beautiful people like Elizabeth and surround yourself in her world, and you're going to start finding that these beautiful thoughts that get shared in stories start becoming available for you to believe. And the more you believe that life is available next, the more of next will become available. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Believe Boulder. You're part of our community, and we really appreciate you being here. We can do a lot together. Until next week, we'll talk to you soon. Take care.